And if you replace the name Ustaše by Special Police Commandos, Badr Brigades, MacD Army, Peshmergas, then you see that the situation is similar. Now, according to official statistics, these militias killed between 300 and 700,000 Serbs, Jews, Gypsies, and resistance fighters. So this means that the Yugoslavians were killing each other, just like they are telling us now that the Iraqis are killing each other and that the occupiers have to stay to not turn the country into civil war. Now what happened when the Germans left? Nothing happened. There was no civil war in Yugoslavia. Ethnic cleansing stopped. And they lived together in peace until the Germans, again, with much money, said that Croatia would be independent, but that's later, that's in the 80s. We need such example to tell the people that the things the Americans are doing, that they do this intentionally, that the people they brought with them were trained, funded and armed in Romania, Bulgaria, other states, and that they were so-called opponents of Saddam Hussein. But there are a lot of other issues that I would like to address, but I will concentrate on a few ones because I think they are important, especially to the peace movement in the West. I would like to tell one example that is very dear to me, and that is a Colombian father, Camilo Torres. He was ordained a Roman Catholic priest in 1954 and continued to study for some years at the Catholic University of Leuven, which is the town where I was born. When he returned to Colombia, he increasingly felt obliged to actively support the cause of the poor. And Camilo Torres believed that in order to secure justice for the people, Christians had a duty to use violent action. He was a co-founder of the sociology faculty of the National University of Colombia in 1960, and his involvement in several student and political movements during the time won him a large following. Camilo Torres saw himself persecuted and went into hiding, and he joined the guerrillas in Colombia, and he was killed on 15 February 1966 when he was ambushed by a Colombian military patrol. And the quote to which he is known is, "If Jesus were alive today, he would be a guerrillero." What's special about this is that after his death, a university residence in Leuven was named after him. Today, in Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Palestine, freedom fighters are no longer considered freedom fighters, according to mainstream discourse. They are now terrorists. No Western university institution will be named after former Iraqi students when they decide to help their people to free themselves from US crusaders. Anti-war movements nowadays have difficulties to support the resistance in Iraq and Afghanistan and so on, and the arguments can be various. But in essence, it all comes down to a colonial attitude of we know best how they should liberate themselves. And they say, and this is a quote, "Islam, while it poses a challenge to Western domination, is backward-looking and inherently unable to deliver progress." It's written by a communist. It's strange. I'm not a religious person myself, but I respect every religion, and the reason why we become peace activists are because we love people. This is very important, and we feel the need to help those that are poorer and, like Mr. Hans von Sponeck said later, who are weaker than ourselves. We have that obligation. But it's out of love, and in every religion, love is important. That's why I don't understand why the perception of Islam in the West is so fast deteriorating. The clash of cultures theory is poisoning the minds of many intellectuals and even progressive people. Islam is considered a backward religion and is directly linked to fundamentalist terrorism. Among many progressive people, and I'm sorry to say this, there is deep distrust against Muslims. And even a respected peace organization like Code Pink in the US, who were opposed to the war in Iraq, they are now supporting the war in Afghanistan because they say the war will ameliorate the situation of Afghan women, because they are now oppressed by those Muslims, fundamentalists. But for all these left and progressive people who have so much reservations against Islam, I would say that Marx has said that religion is opium for the people. He did not say Islam is opium for the people. So if you want to be objective, you have to say that this Catholic priest in Colombia was as backward as the people who are fighting now in Iraq. Okay. Dr. Toon Mahathir spoke about that he contacted people who said they were neutral. But in fact, neutrality does not exist. Either you are for the principles that humanity has set out for centuries, or you are against it. And if you are for these principles, that gives all of you a responsibility to react. I notice myself that in the West, Iraq is no longer an issue. And there are less and less people who are willing to take up the cause for justice, even though they all agree with us. And that is very sad. So we have to work always with less and less people. But that's no problem. Even 3 or 4 people, and Ms. Halbayate will explain, with 3 or 4 people, they managed to raise a legal case in Spain just before the universal jurisdiction was abolished by the parliament. That was a huge work, a day and night work, but they did it. So congratulations for that. One thing that I wanted to tell you is we are all very glad to be among people who are against the war, and we feel empowered when we meet, and we feel that these days that we can be together, we have as much discussions and talks as possible about what we can do, how we should react for the case of justice. When I am at home, I feel I'm in a science fiction movie. There are 2 parallel worlds now, if you look at the media. On the one hand, there's a war where there's a crisis, and there is climate change. And on the other hand, there is a war. And the two, you have to check, you have to look at the television. They are never related. And that is very, very strange. If you see the film of Al Gore, by the way, who voted in favor of the war in 2003, he doesn't talk about the war. We have to ride our bicycles instead of our cars. But they can spend $3 million in destroying the planet. With $3 million, I tell you,